They told Sarah Mitchell the night shift would be easy money. 12 hours watching sleeping children, the occasional vitals check, maybe a bedpan or two. What they didn't tell her was about room 219. What they didn't tell her was why the last 4 nurses quit without notice. What they didn't tell her was that some doors should never be opened after dark. Sarah took the job because she needed it. 32 years old, fresh out of a messy divorce, drowning in debt from her ex-husband's gambling problem. The pediatric night shift at Mercy Hospital paid double the standard rate. She asked why during the interview. The director, a thin woman named Dr. Castellanos, with eyes that never quite met hers, said it was because night shifts were harder to fill. Sarah didn't press. She needed the money too badly to ask uncomfortable questions. Her first night started normally enough. The pediatric ward occupied the entire 4th floor of Mercy Hospital, a building that dated back to 1897. The architecture still carried that Victorian weight. High ceilings, long corridors, windows too tall and narrow, like the building itself was holding its breath. The fluorescent lights they'd installed in the 70s hummed constantly, casting everything in that particular shade of institutional green that made even healthy people look sick. There were 12 rooms on the ward. Most were empty. Budget cuts had reduced the pediatric department to a skeleton crew, and the few children who were there, a 7-year-old recovering from appendicitis, a teenager with a broken leg from a skateboarding accident, a little girl with pneumonia, were quiet, medicated, sleeping peacefully. Then there was room 219. It sat at the end of the east corridor, door always closed, no window to peek through. The number plate was tarnished brass, older than the plastic ones on the other doors. Sarah noticed it immediately during her orientation walkthrough with Nurse Chen, the outgoing shift supervisor. "What's in 219?" Sarah asked. Nurse Chen's expression went carefully blank. "Storage." "Storage? In a patient room?" "Old equipment, broken beds, things we don't use anymore." Chen walked faster, her shoes squeaking on the linoleum. "You don't need to worry about it." But there was something in her voice, something that made Sarah's stomach tighten. "Is it locked?" Chen stopped walking, turned. Her face was serious now, all the professional warmth gone. "Yes, and it stays locked, especially at night." "Why especially at night?" "Because those are the rules, Sarah. Every hospital has rules. This is ours. You don't open room 219 after sunset. You don't even go near it unless absolutely necessary. During the day, if maintenance needs access, that's fine, but at night that door stays closed. Understood?" Sarah nodded slowly. "Is it a biohazard or something? Asbestos?" "Something like that." Chen's eyes flicked toward room 219, then quickly away, like even looking at it was dangerous. "Just follow the rule. The last nurse who didn't... well, she's not here anymore." That should have been Sarah's first warning, but she needed the job. She needed the money. So she nodded and smiled and promised to follow the rules. The first week passed without incident. Sarah fell into the rhythm of night work, the strange quiet of a hospital after midnight, when the daytime chaos faded and everything became still and waiting. She did her rounds, checked vitals, dispensed medication, comforted the occasional child who woke from a bad dream. Easy work, good pay. But she kept noticing things about room 219, the temperature. The corridor where it sat was always colder than the rest of the ward. Not dramatically, just enough that Sarah started bringing a cardigan for her rounds. She mentioned it to maintenance. They checked the HVAC system, found nothing wrong, shrugged and left. The sounds. Sometimes, during the dead hours between 2 and 4 in the morning, Sarah would hear something from behind that closed door. Not loud, not obvious, just a soft thump, like something falling. Or the creak of bed springs, as if someone had sat down on a mattress. She told herself it was the building settling. Old hospitals made noise. That's all it was. The smell. Twice. Walking past room 219, Sarah caught a scent she couldn't identify. Sweet, but wrong. Like flowers left too long in a vase. That moment just before they rot. It was gone so quickly she almost thought she'd imagined it. And then there were the children. On her 9th night, Sarah found little Emma Reeves, the 7-year-old appendicitis patient, standing in the corridor outside room 219. Just standing there in her hospital gown, bare feet on the cold floor, staring at the closed door. Emma? Sarah hurried over, gently touching the girl's shoulder. Sweetie, what are you doing out of bed? Emma didn't turn around. Her voice was dreamy, distant. She's singing. Who's singing, honey? The lady in there. Emma pointed at room 219. She sings really pretty songs, old songs. She told me I could come play if I wanted. Sarah's blood went cold. There's no one in there, Emma. It's just storage. Yes, there is. Now Emma looked up at her, and her eyes were too bright, too focused. She said lots of children play in there. She said they're waiting for me. She said I'm special. Sarah scooped the girl up. Emma was small for 7, light as a bird, and carried her back to her room. She checked the IV, made sure Emma was comfortable, stayed until the girl fell back asleep. Then she went to the nurse's station and pulled Emma's chart. Emma Reeves, age 7, emergency appendectomy 3 days ago, recovery proceeding normally, scheduled for discharge tomorrow. Tomorrow. The girl would be going home tomorrow. She was fine. So why had she been standing outside room 219, talking about someone singing? Sarah told herself it was the medication. Pediatric patients on painkillers sometimes hallucinated. It happened. It was normal. But she couldn't shake the image of Emma's face. That brightness in her eyes, like she'd seen something wonderful. The next night, Emma was gone, discharged as scheduled. Sarah felt relieved. One less thing to worry about. Then she met Marcus. Marcus Chen was 15, the skateboarding accident with the broken leg. Sullen, angry at being stuck in a hospital, he mostly played video games on his phone and ignored the nurses. Sarah liked him because he didn't demand attention, didn't complain. Easy patient. On night 12, she found him in the corridor. Outside room 219. Marcus, what are you doing out of bed? You're supposed to stay elevated. Do you hear that? He wasn't looking at her. He was leaning on his crutches, head tilted, listening. Sarah listened, heard nothing but the ventilation system, the distant beep of monitors, the quiet hum of the hospital at night. I don't hear anything. The music. Marcus frowned. It's like old music, like from the 40s or something. My grandma used to play stuff like this. Big band music, she called it. Sarah's skin prickled. There's no music, Marcus. Yeah, there is. It's coming from in there. He nodded at room 219. Is someone watching old movies or something? No, that room is empty. Then how? He stopped. His expression changed, confusion giving way to something else. Fear. Why is the door handle moving? Sarah looked at room 219. The handle was still, completely motionless. It's not moving, Marcus. It was. I saw it, like someone was trying to open it from the inside. He backed away from the door, nearly losing his balance. I don't like this. I want to go back to my room. Sarah helped him back to bed, but her hands were shaking. 2 children now. 2 children drawn to room 219, hearing things, seeing things. She needed answers. The next morning, before her shift ended, Sarah went to the hospital archives. Mercy Hospital kept meticulous records, over a century of patient files, incident reports, staff documentation. If something had happened in room 219, there would be a record. It took her 3 hours of searching before she found it. A manila folder dated 1952. Incident report. Room 219. The pages inside were brittle, yellowed with age. The handwriting was cramped and formal, the language stiff and clinical, but the horror came through anyway. On March 17, 1952, Room 219 had housed 6 children recovering from various illnesses. Measles, mostly, and 1 case of pneumonia, all expected to recover fully. Then a fire broke out in the hospital's basement, an electrical fault in the ancient wiring. The smoke traveled up through the ventilation system. Room 219's ventilation had malfunctioned 6 months earlier. The repair had been postponed due to budget constraints. When the smoke poured in, the children had no way to escape. The door, an old model that locked from the outside for security purposes, had jammed. By the time the staff broke through, all 6 children were dead. Smoke inhalation. Ages ranging from 4 to 12. The hospital had covered it up. Officially, the children died in the fire. No specific location mentioned. Room 219 was sealed, then quietly reopened years later after renovations. Different paint, different furniture, different number plate. But the same room. Sarah found more records. Over the decades, there had been incidents. Nothing official, nothing documented in the main files, but scattered through maintenance reports, staff memos, termination papers, pieces of a pattern. 1967. A nurse reported seeing child-sized shadows in room 219. She was dismissed for drug use. 1979. A night janitor refused to clean room 219 after hearing children singing. He quit the next day. 1988. Room 219 was converted to storage after 3 pediatric patients in a row requested room transfers, claiming they heard someone crying through the walls. 2003. A nurse opened room 219 at 2 a.m. to retrieve supplies. She was found unconscious in the corridor 30 minutes later. She never returned to work and refused to discuss what she'd seen. 2015. The last documented incident before Sarah's arrival. A night nurse named Rebecca Torres opened room 219 to investigate sounds of distress. Security footage showed her entering. Showed her standing inside for 11 minutes, completely still, staring at something the camera couldn't see. When other staff members pulled her out, she was unresponsive, catatonic. She spent 3 weeks in psychiatric care. Upon release, she moved to another state and changed her name. Sarah closed the file. Her hands were shaking again, but this time from anger. They knew. The hospital knew. Dr. Castellanos knew. Everyone knew that something was wrong with room 219, and they just kept assigning nurses to work near it, kept housing vulnerable children on the same floor, kept pretending everything was fine. She should quit. She should walk away right now, find another job, any other job. But she thought about the children. Emma, standing in the corridor, talking about the singing lady. Marcus, hearing big band music from the 40s. Other children over the years, drawn to that room, hearing voices, seeing things. What if it wasn't over? What if the pattern continued? That night, Sarah came to work with a plan. She would document everything. If another child showed interest in room 219, she'd record it, photograph it, create a paper trail the hospital couldn't ignore. She'd force them to acknowledge the problem, to seal the room permanently, to do something. The ward was quiet. Only 2 patients tonight. Marcus and a new arrival, a 5-year-old girl named Sophie with a severe asthma attack. Both were sleeping soundly. Sarah did her rounds, checked vitals, everything normal. At 1:47 a.m. she heard it. Music, faint but unmistakable, the tinny distant sound of a big band playing, like an old radio half-tuned. Glenn Miller, maybe, or Benny Goodman, the kind of music that belonged to another era, another world. It was coming from room 219. Sarah stood frozen at the nurse's station, every instinct screaming at her to ignore it, to follow the rules, to keep that door closed. But the children. The 6 children who died in 1952. The decades of patients hearing things, seeing things. the nurses who'd been broken by whatever was in that room. She had to know. Sarah pulled the master key from the locked drawer at the nurses' station. Her supervisor had shown her where it was kept, for emergencies only. This qualified, didn't it? The corridor to room 219 felt longer than usual. The temperature dropped with each step. The fluorescent lights flickered, casting shadows that seemed to move on their own. The music grew louder. She could make out the words now, a female voice singing about moonlight and memories and love that lasts forever. Sarah reached the door, put her hand on the handle. It was ice cold. For a moment, she almost stopped, almost turned around, almost followed the rules. Then she heard something else. Underneath the music, underneath the singing. Children's laughter. Not scary laughter, not evil or menacing, just children playing. Happy sounds, innocent sounds. Sarah turned the key, pushed the door open. Room 219 was not what she expected. It wasn't storage. There were no broken beds, no old equipment. The room was furnished like a patient room, bed, chair, small table. But everything was wrong. The furniture was antique, dating back to the 40s or 50s. The walls were painted a soft yellow that had faded with age. There were drawings taped up, children's drawings, dozens of them, covering every surface, and toys, scattered across the floor, arranged on shelves, piled on the bed, old toys, a wooden rocking horse, a porcelain doll with glassy eyes, tin soldiers, a teddy bear with one button eye missing. The music was coming from an old radio on the bedside table. A massive thing, wood-paneled, with a dial that glowed amber in the darkness. But the room wasn't empty. There were children. 6 of them. They sat in a circle on the floor, playing some game Sarah couldn't quite see. They wore hospital gowns, but old-fashioned ones, thick cotton, faded from repeated washing. Their hair was styled in cuts from decades past. They looked solid, real, alive. One of them, a girl of maybe 8 with pigtails, looked up and smiled. "Hi, are you here to play too?" Sarah couldn't speak, couldn't move. Her rational mind was screaming that this was impossible, that she was hallucinating, that someone had drugged her coffee. But she knew better. She'd read the reports. She knew what had happened in this room. These were the children from 1952. "You're..." Sarah's voice came out as a whisper. "You're the children who died in the fire." The girl's smile didn't falter. "We didn't die. We're still here. We're always here." Another child, a boy with thick glasses, looked up. "We can't leave. We tried, but we can't. The door was locked, and then everything got smoky, and then... we were just here. Still here." "But that was 70 years ago," Sarah said. "Was it?" The girl with pigtails frowned. "It doesn't feel like that long. Time is funny here. Sometimes it feels like yesterday. Sometimes it feels like forever." A smaller child, maybe 4 years old, tugged on the girl's gown. "Is she the new nurse? Is she nice?" "I think so." The girl studied Sarah carefully. "Are you?" "The last nurse who came in wasn't nice. She screamed and screamed. It made us sad." Sarah's legs felt weak. She wanted to run, wanted to slam the door and never look back. But these were children. Dead children, yes, but they were still children. Trapped, confused, alone. "I'm not going to scream," Sarah said quietly. I'm sorry this happened to you." The children looked at each other. Something passed between them. A communication Sarah couldn't quite understand. "Can you help us?" the boy with glasses asked. "We don't want to be here anymore. We want to go home. We want to see our families." Sarah didn't know what to say. How do you explain to children that their families are long dead? That the world they knew is gone? You can't help them. The voice came from behind Sarah. She spun around. A woman stood in the doorway, Tall, thin, wearing a nurse's uniform from the 1950s. White dress, white cap, thick-soled shoes. Her face was pale, her eyes dark and hollow. "They're mine now," the woman said. "They've always been mine." Sarah recognized her from one of the incident reports. The nurse on duty the night of the fire. The one who'd locked the door from the outside. The one who'd never unlocked it. "You killed them," Sarah whispered. "I saved them." The woman's voice was calm, matter of fact. From that horrible world, from pain and disease and growing old and dying alone. Here they're safe. They're children forever. They play and laugh and never suffer. They're prisoners. They're protected. The woman stepped into the room. "And you're going to help me protect them. The hospital needs nurses who understand. Nurses who won't ask questions. Nurses who'll make sure no one disturbs them." "I'm not going to—" "You already did." The woman smiled. It was a terrible smile, empty and cold. "You opened the door at night. You came inside. You heard them. That's the first step. Soon you'll understand. Soon you'll want to stay. All the nurses eventually do. Why do you think the turnover is so high? Why do you think the pay is so good?" Sarah backed toward the door, but the woman was blocking it now. The children were standing up, moving closer, reaching out with small hands. "Don't go," the girl with pigtails said. "It's lonely here. We need someone to take care of us. The other nurse left, and we've been alone for so long." "You could stay," the boy with glasses added. "You could be our nurse, forever." The woman in the white uniform reached out. Her hand was ice cold, her grip impossibly strong. "It's easier if you don't fight it," she whispered. "I didn't fight it. 63 years I've been here, watching over them, protecting them, and I've never been happier." Sarah felt something shifting around her. The room was changing, darkening at the edges. The music from the radio grew louder, distorting, becoming something wrong and mechanical. The children's faces were stretching, their smiles too wide, their eyes too empty. This wasn't a haunting. This was a trap. And she'd walked right into it. With a surge of desperate strength, Sarah tore free from the woman's grip and threw herself backward, out of room 219. She hit the corridor floor hard, rolled, scrambled to her feet. The door was still open. Inside, she could see the woman standing among the children, all of them watching her with those hollow eyes. "You'll be back," the woman said calmly. "They always come back. You've heard them now. You've seen them. You'll dream about them. And one night you'll open that door again, and next time you won't leave." Sarah slammed the door shut, turned the key, ran. She didn't stop running until she reached the nurse's station. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely dial the phone. She called Dr. Castellanos at home, demanded to know why she'd been hired, why she'd been sent to work near room 219. There was a long silence on the other end. Then Dr. Castellanos said very quietly, "How long were you inside?" "What?" "How long were you in room 219? It's important, Sarah." "I don't know. A minute? 2 minutes?" Another pause. "Then there's still time. You need to quit. Tonight. Right now. Don't work another shift here. Don't come back to this hospital. Move if you can. Move far away and forget you ever saw that room." "What are you talking about?" "The nurses who stay longer than 5 minutes. They never fully leave. They quit, yes. They move away. But they come back. Sometimes it takes weeks. Sometimes years. But they always come back. And when they do, they open that door. And they go inside. And we never see them again." Sarah felt her stomach drop. "You're saying—" "I'm saying you opened the door, Sarah. You went inside. And now you're connected to that room. To those children. To her. The only way to break the connection is to leave and never return. Do you understand? Never return." Sarah understood. She quit that night. Packed her apartment in 3 days. Moved 2 states away to live with her sister. Found a job at a dentist's office. Normal work. Daytime hours, no hospitals. For 6 months, she was fine. She didn't dream about room 219, didn't think about the children or the woman in white or the music. Then, on a Tuesday in October, Sarah woke up at 2:47 a.m. with a song stuck in her head. A big band song from the 40s. She couldn't remember the name, but she knew all the words. She tried to go back to sleep. Couldn't. The song kept playing in her mind over and over. The next night, she dreamed about room 219, about the children sitting in their circle, playing their game. They looked up when they saw her and smiled. "We knew you'd come back," the girl with pigtails said. Sarah woke up sweating, crying, terrified. But part of her, a small, growing part, wanted to return to that dream, wanted to see the children again, wanted to hear their laughter. It's been 3 weeks now. The dreams are every night. The song never stops. Sarah catches herself looking up directions to Mercy Hospital, checking bus schedules, planning the trip. She knows she shouldn't go back. She knows what will happen if she opens that door again, but the children are waiting. They're lonely. They need someone to take care of them. And Sarah is so tired of fighting it. Maybe the woman in white was right. Maybe it would be easier to just stop fighting, to go back, to open the door, to step inside and never leave. Maybe that wouldn't be so bad. After all, the children are there. And children need nurses, don't they?
Words of comfort and promises of eternal service.